This is the thanks I get for working overtime.
Welcome to another episode of Summer Showcase. This is Overtime with Zach Bronkhorst. I'm Michael Washington. Tonight we're going to bring you all the breaking news that's been happening. There's been a lot going on with the ELF this week. It's been insane. I know that we're a day late. We're a day late primarily because we had some things come up. We are also experiencing some possible technical difficulties of some sort. So hopefully our audio is good and it matches up pretty well for the day. Zach, first and foremost, I know that it was a tough loss this past weekend, but you get a bye week this week. I hope you're enjoying it, my man. And how are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, like you were saying, technical difficulties are a possibility. So I'd like to apologize to any of the people actually wanting to watch our ugly mugs. My video might cut out because the Wi-Fi is just trash right now. But hopefully all of our audio listeners can hear me clearly throughout the whole podcast. So, yeah, I'm ready to get rocking and rolling.
I don't know about you, but I would say ugly mug for me for sure. Like you, I'm not so sure about, but for me for sure. I mean, this thing kind of gets a little wild sometimes. Like literally, like this thing like curls. I don't understand it. I can't.
I got the long locks working now. All the viewers can watch the hair slowly grow out this way as the podcast progresses throughout the
season. Yes, I can see it with the hat on backwards there. That thing looks a little snug with the hair underneath too.
It's getting a little bit tighter. Might have to undo one button. We'll see.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's jump right into it. A ton of news coming out. I mean, you know, we on Tuesday, Randy, Aaron, and I talked a little bit about the Barcelona stuff. We'll get into that situation here tonight with you as well. But let's start off with some of the other news that's happened around the league so far.
Yeah, I mean, the head coaching changes are really something that I want to hit on first. I don't believe we got a chance to talk about it last week, but your team, the Panthers, releasing their very high-level head coach in Dave Christensen, somebody who I was a fan of. I know a lot of Panthers fans were a fan of him. Not exactly sure what happened with that situation. Maybe you've heard something or enlightened of something, but that came to a really big surprise to most of the league. I know a lot of Panthers fans and Panthers organization themselves came into the season with a lot of high hopes with the talent they brought in and Coach Christensen's pedigree. And maybe it just hasn't kind of shaped up yet to the way that the Panthers nation really thought it was going to. They've had a heck of a schedule. They've been behind the eight ball since the beginning with this schedule that they face. But yeah, Mike, what do you think about this releasing of Coach Christensen?
You know, I'm not 100% sure because the release of Christensen makes me wonder if he was involved with the release of Stephen Duncan at all. Like, I'm not sure at this rate because, you know, they're on their third quarterback. They were hoping that Matthew Vitelli was going to come in and be the savior, which I like Matthew Vitelli. Don't get me wrong. Matthew Vitelli was probably their best quarterback since Lucas O'Connor, but it's really hard to judge what Stephen Duncan could have been. Right, like he's had success with Madrid, you know, against some of the tougher teams. He's been some turnover prone, which was what happened with the two games down the stretch there against Stuttgart and Vienna. So maybe that's what they were just trying to hope to clean up, and then they just kind of scapegoated Dave Christensen. I don't know. I feel like both moves, the Duncan release and the Christensen release, were both kind of done in haste. I'm not really sure. We got a win this past weekend. It looked terrible, though. The game was awful. I think Aaron mentioned on Tuesday that it was like neither team went over 100 yards passing total as a team. So pretty brutal to start. I hope that's not the direction the Panthers are happy with, but I don't know. I don't have anything here. I just know that he gets to go home, come back over to the States and come home now. And
yeah.
That's about all I know with that situation. So
yeah, like you said, I mean, that game was extremely underwhelming. Both teams bringing in new quarterbacks. Matthew Vitelli was with the LFA earlier this year, Panthers last year, and then Perkins, I believe that he's with the Lions. He was also in the LFA earlier this year, and the Lions bring him in to try and spark that offense. And it was a tough game to watch. I was plugged in. I was excited to see the boys, balling out there. Matthew Vitelli back in the league. I think it might be just a 1 week thing though. Just trying to get his feet back wet. I know it's been a little while. He didn't finish the whole season down in the LFA, so there's a little bit of rust from not playing a little bit. So I'm really hoping that was the case, and that we see that Panthers offense kind of wake up in the next showing that they got.
Yeah, I think that's what, and first and foremost, shout out to Alex. Alex is a huge on Twitter as far as covering the ELF and does wonderful work. Go follow him on X if you haven't yet. He's fantastic. Thanks for tuning in, my man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I think that it chalked up to Matthew Vitelli coming in, the head coach change midweek. Josiah Norwood comes in, another American imported receiver because Matt Cole's hurt. So I do like what I saw from Norwood being in. It seemed like he was a vocal point of what they wanted to do in the offense. So that's good news. So hopefully maybe there's some kind of cohesiveness that happens down the stretch now that they're there for a full week. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I kind of chalk the Panthers up a little bit, and maybe it's my bias as a fan to just being, just trying to get acclimated to all the changes that took place that last week. So.
Yeah, definitely a very turbulent week for them, ups and downs. And, I mean, they ended up walking away with the win. Never going to complain about a win. But, yeah, maybe not the showing that Panthers fans are hoping to see against the 0-6 Frog Lions.
Yeah, no.
But, yeah, shout out the Skip Bayless of the ELF, as he calls himself, Alex Malchow. Excited to see that guy in the chat.
Yeah, I love Alex, man. I love his work on X, man, and
Yeah,
I really appreciate him, chiming in. He's a guy that I look up to when it comes to covering the ELF. I'm not quite there yet. My game's not at that point, but I'm hoping to get there.
We're getting there.
I'm hoping to get there
week by week.
For sure. Oh, it definitely is. That is for sure. It really is.
Moving forward, the Mercenaries, 1 week after defeating my team, the Milano Seamen, in a rain-trenched battle, a lot of defense, not a lot of offense at times, but, I mean, the elements were crazy. They released their head coach, Val Gunn, after getting their first win of the season. They replaced him with defensive coordinator Brian Billy as the interim head coach. I know Brian Billy, he's a first-year DC. He's a French national defensive player, has a very good defensive mind, comes up with a lot of schemes. Talking to him after the game, he had a really good scheme against us, and so I just want to commend him on that and talk to him. But yeah, a little bit of surprise for me, at least, seeing them release their head coach after getting some momentum going forward. I mean, they're making moves and adding a lot of good pieces to the team to kind of make a late push to get some more wins. Yeah, pretty surprising. I'm not sure of the circumstances, though, of him leaving. I heard some of it were personal. I don't really know. I'm not going to speculate. Michael, what do you kind of think about this?
Yeah, and to me, this was probably the most surprising release of the week that I've seen so far. It ranked up there with Dave Christensen last week for me as far as the releases were concerned. It was odd timing, and I felt like the timing must have been something personal. There had to have been. I've heard a lot of the same grumblings that you have as far as it might be personal. There might have been something behind the scenes there, but it's just really unfortunate timing for Helvetic because they did get their first win of the season, and they've been a tough team. Like they've played hard for most of the year, so it's really weird to see the timing happen with this. So I'm sure that their performance, they're not satisfied with it being, I think we're 1-6 or 1-5, but 1-5. But it happens in this league, especially where you're in an area that doesn't have like a real good foundation for American football, right? Like it's just Helvetic has never been an area, they're growing, but it's a slow grow over there. So the timing just seems odd to me. I don't really know what to take from it. I hope it was a little bit of a mixture of, not due to performance as much as it was just maybe there was he asked for it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very interesting situation over there for sure. Excited for Brian Billy though. I mean, dude's first year coach, fresh off of playing, so excited to see him get a chance to get that interim role. That's a huge resume builder. Being even at the interim head coaching level, you get to put that on the resume. That's huge for him. I will say all year for them, minus 1 or 2 showings, that defense has been outstanding. With Helvetic and dating back to the guards last year, it was never really the defense that was an issue for them. They have playmakers all over the field on defense. It's more of just getting points in the end zone and putting points on the board. And that just seems to be the case again this year. So maybe they felt like removing Val Gunn or whatever the situation was, as he was the play caller, and I saw they brought in an individual who had worked with Carlton Aiken in the past. So getting somebody that he has, a relationship with that could, push them forward in the right direction. But yeah, happy for Brian Billy. That's awesome for him, for sure.
Yeah, he's young too, right? He's not very old. Yeah, I was gonna say he's pretty young, and I think that's great. Maybe it's a more relatable situation with the players. Maybe the players will rally around him. Maybe they'll be able to connect a little bit better with him. But like I agree with you. We kind of mentioned it on Tuesday as well that back to the guards last year, this team has always flown around on defense and always played really hard-nosed defense. It's always been the offense hasn't been able to sustain drive, so the defense ends up getting worn down in second half of games, and that's when you see the blowouts, happen. So, I would say that hopefully, we see something, and I'm definitely excited to see what happens with Billy for sure. By all means, Alex says shout out to Val Gunn, who did a great job. So, and I think he did a good job too, for sure.
Moving forward, last head coaching change. This one's kind of sad to see on the means of him leaving was Greg Brandon, I believe, of the Cologne Centurions. He had to take a leave from the team due to health reasons. It was undisclosed what those health reasons are, but if you're somebody who prays, please put prayers up for Coach over there, that he does, recover fine from these health issues that he might be having. They did sign their former, I guess, was he already their defensive coordinator? Jack Ball. Was he the defense coordinator this year, or was he previously the defensive coordinator?
Okay, so it's hard with Cologne because Cologne is the worst team in the league when it comes to social media fan engagement. They're the least followed team across the board. They're not engaging with their fans. There's no interaction at all. So trying to find anything along those lines has been tough. I think he was this year. If I remember correctly, I think I read somewhere he was. I don't know the coaches that well just yet. I'm still learning the coaches as I go. But I believe it was this year. But yeah, the fan engagement online is awful for Cologne. It's so bad.
Yeah, that's definitely a step forward. They need to take those steps forward if they want to be a more successful organization. I believe is just having that fan engagement on social media. That's a huge role in getting people to your games, and maybe getting players over to you. Is just seeing that social media presence. That's in today's day and age. That's a huge thing.
You need it. You need it. Yeah. You need to be able to have something relatable, and you need to be able to grow to bring in people to go watch the games. And the best way to do it, the easiest way to do it, is social media. It may be a toxic environment, but it's literally the easiest way to grow your fan base. So, I hope to see some kind of social media director or something hired for them moving forward, because it's brutal. They're bad.
Prayers up for Coach Brandon.
Yes, for sure.
That's what they said in their statement was health issues. So hope he's fine and recovers well. Moving on to the players, dare I say scapegoat, Javarian Smith released, as we see D'Angelo Fulford being brought back into the league. As y'all know, he was released from parole after week 2. I believe after the Vienna Vikings. I know that was either week 2 or week 3. D'Angelo Fulford back in the ELF. Not sure if it's really falls on Javarian Smith's shoulders for the issues Hamburg has had yet this year. I guess we'll see. Mike, what do you think about this one? This one's kind of weird for me.
So this one's tough for me because I knew this was coming. I heard on Friday that Javarian Smith was getting released and Fulford was coming in. I don't know if Hamburg let Javarian Smith know. I'm not really sure if that was the case. I'm not the type of person that breaks stories or leaks stories or anything along those lines. I'm just not there. It's not my job to do it. I'm an analyst. I'm an analyst side of things, but it was hard for me not to say something to somebody who might know something that's going on with this situation, because I heard Friday, and I was told by a very reliable source, and he didn't have much more information other than Fulford was already pretty much signed at that point. Smith definitely was a scapegoat. Like I don't think he's played poorly for Hamburg. I think Hamburg has other issues in other areas.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily the defense I think has got some leaky spots, some leaky holes. They're susceptible to big plays, and you can't just put it all on Javarian Smith to make it. I don't know if D'Angelo Fulford's going to be any better than what Smith has done, right? Like I'm not sure. It's obviously the offense isn't where they wanted it. Maybe they feel like Fulford did enough with the Raiders that they're like, yeah, he's going to be the difference maker.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like you're replacing the letter A with the letter A. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like they're two similar style. I don't think Javarian. I think Javarian's a better passer and not as athletic in the run game. I think Fulford's a little bit better in the run game and maybe not as good of a passer. I might have that backwards, but it's very similar. Like it's not, there's not a huge difference between the two in my opinion. You know what I mean? But I'm glad. I'm happy to see Fulford get a second chance because I feel like Fulford is I feel like he was a scapegoat for the Raiders in T-roll, and I don't think we really ever saw him get off the ground running this season.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's tough for the Hamburg Sea Devils. They basically have a completely revamped defense after what we saw last year. They've had one of the top defensive lines in the entire league since its conception, and then all of the entire defensive line is gone. I mean, half of them are playing for the Munich. They got guys in Switzerland, Tyrol. Like they had studs on defense for its time here in the ELF. Their DC leaves to go be the head coach at Munich. Whole defensive line leaves. A lot of key DBs, defensive line. I mean, they basically had to recruit a whole new defense, and I think that's been more of the weak point with the Hamburg Sea Devils than the offense. Maybe Hamburg didn't feel like they were getting Jarvis McClam the ball enough or as involved in the game. Does that fall on Javarian or does that fall on the offensive coordinator? I guess we'll find out though on I believe it's Sunday whenever Hamburg takes on the Fire. It should be an interesting one. I'm definitely interested to see. I wish Javarian the best. I mean, he's a stud. I think he's gonna find his footing in Europe anywhere he goes. But yeah, excited to see D'Angelo back in the league getting another shot.
Yeah, I will. I do want to say also in this standpoint that, like Fulford, I could see Javarian being back if there's another injury at the quarterback spot for another team. I think he's done enough to showcase like, hey, I can come in and run an offense for sure. And yeah, Alex, I completely agree. I was just getting ready to say this. This is a very tough game, especially where Ryan has kind of hit their stretch to come back into his first game back. It may not be pretty for Hamburg this first week. I do think Fulford will find his footing, though.
Yeah.
I also hope that Hamburg let Javarian Smith know when they were going to make the move.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't. Coming back to, I know the import cutoff date is week 9. So we're getting pretty close to that. So maybe we'll see Javarian in like the GFL or something around that level again. But I don't think he's going to be sitting on the sideline too long.
That's right. I forgot it was week 9. That's right. Yeah. So maybe we'll see him. Yeah. Maybe we'll see him down in the GFL again. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Moving forward, the Frankfurt Galaxy making a move at quarterback. Luke Zaraka, I know he had a left shoulder injury. I know their head coach had talked about it in a post-game interview after the Bravos game. Not the best showing for Frankfurt against the Bravos last week, kind of suffering a blowout. They started the homegrown quarterback, their backup quarterback for the first half. Didn't really get things clicking. Put Luke in the second half. Once again, didn't get things cooking. And then now we see them place Luke on IR, and they bring in my boy, Matthew McKay, who I actually trained with at APEC in Dallas. Shout out APEC, as we were going through draft prep. Matthew McKay, he was NC State, Montana State, Elon University, was in the Cowboys training camp, CFL training camps, XFL training camps, UFL. He's been all over the place. He's a stud. He gets signed by the Galaxy. So I'm really excited to see him step over here into Europe and put his talents on display for the European fans. If he really embraces the Galaxy and their culture and their fans, I could honestly see him taking over the team and staying with them throughout the rest of the year. And that's nothing to any of the other quarterbacks they have. He's just a stud, and I really would love to see him come over here and show out. But yeah, what do you think about this move by the Galaxy?
First before I touch on McKay, do we know the reason why Frankfurt started their homegrown last week? Did we ever hear as to why?
Their coach had stated that Luke had that shoulder issue, and he
Okay.
kind of blended that in with saying that the offense hadn't been producing like they wanted to. So, I mean, maybe shoulder, maybe not, little production. We'll see. He kind of blended it all together. I think they want to say shoulder, but it might have been just trying to shake things up as well.
Yeah, no, I thought it might have been injury related because he did get hurt in the second half of that game, and they did go back to the homegrown once he started the second half. But
Yeah.
it did strike to me as something like an injury, but there was a lot of confusion that I was seeing. Nobody really knew why as to what happened. So shout out to Luke though. Hopefully he can get better. Sometime soon. I mean, Matthew McKay, man. I mean, what could you really say about him? He's a big quarterback. I saw him play at Elon University because they play Maine, and I was able to see him when he was. Well, I don't know if he was actually the starter then, or if he played that game, he might have been hurt. But I saw he was on the team either way, and Elon was a powerhouse for us. I mean, they ran right through us. So,
Yeah.
If he was the quarterback, I can't remember if he was or not off the top of my head, but if he was the quarterback, then yeah, I could see why they ran through us, basically.
Yeah.
And Jamal, go Blackberries. Shout out to Maine for sure. Yeah, no doubt. Montego Moss, big year this year, my man.
Yeah, there you go.
I like this. McKay is going to be the 24th
24th or 25th? I think 24th.
24th American quarterback starting a game this year already for the ELF. That's crazy to me.
That is insane.
That is an insane, it's almost as insane as when you find out that 65 quarterbacks started last year in the NFL. It's just an insane number. It's crazy. Yeah. But shout out to McKay. I hope he goes in there. I hope he takes it over and runs things the way that I think he can. He's a very talented dude, and I think that he has. I think he definitely has a chance to make some noise for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, if any of the Frankfurt fans or anybody wanted to get a little bit of insight on McKay, having trained with him and seen him in person for a good period, very tall, very good sized quarterback. He stands at about 6'3", 3/4, 6'4", about 230. Good mobility, not going to blow your doors off, but he's very mobile. I'd say he's more mobile than Luke for sure.
Yes.
Good pocket movement, very quick release. Good touch on the deep ball. He knows when to put it through through somebody's hands or put it over the shoulder. So he's got both those balls in the bag. I'm excited to see him come out here and show what he's about for sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what goes on there. And again, it's sad to see this happen to Luke, but at the same time, the offense definitely was not moving the way they wanted to. And maybe getting a guy with a bigger arm and a bigger body, he can hold up a little bit more, and maybe they can get that offense rolling because they're right on the cusp. They're one of those teams that's they're right there on the outside, hey, can we putt on the green? So yeah, they're there.
Well, moving forward, the rich continue to get richer. Stuttgart activates Darrell Stewart Jr. off of the IR. They get their wide receiver 1 back off the IR. They did release Hazelton, who was the receiver that they had brought in, the American. He had good showing for him, but I mean, Darrell Stewart's one of the best receivers in the entire league out of Michigan State coming over here. Activate him off of IR. Just to make that wide receiver core even more dangerous when you already got 2 of the best European wide receivers in the whole game over there. This is just a story of the rich getting richer. Stuttgart's going to continue rolling. I don't see that stopping anytime soon. What do you have to say on this one? There's not much to say, I feel like.
I mean, what can you say, right? You've covered a majority of that right there alone. You're talking Louis Geyer is already one of the best wide receivers in this league as a homegrown. And then, you add Stewart, who's one of the most dynamic players in the league from that import spot, and Riley Hennessy is just going to be over. He's just going to be ecstatic. Like he has to be. He has to be bouncing around right now his apartment or whatever he is, just buzzing because it's great. I mean, it's going to be a tough day for the Raiders, and two weeks in a row, it's going to be a tough week for the Raiders for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll get off of that topic. I mean, there's not much to say. We'll move right forward to the Mercenaries. They did sign Ebel Ahi Dazen. He was with Paris earlier this year, a French DB. Their new interim head coach / defensive coordinator, Brian Billy, he is French, so they got the French connection. He got a pretty high-level French DB in there quickly right after getting signed as an interim. So that was a quick turnaround. Good move by them. I think that they're going to really try and put him either at safety or like that slot corner position because having faced them, I will say that's probably their one area of defense that they kind of have a weakness at is the slot corners or the high safety. They have playmakers all over the field. It's just kind of putting them in their right pieces. So, I think that was a good move by the Mercenaries, really shoring up an already pretty solid defense. Would have liked them to take an offensive line or, another receiver for Carlton to target. But, I mean, the defense is always safe to go with, especially when you got an interim head coach that is a DC.
Yeah, I feel like that this move is just one of those moves where they were just like, you know what, we understand our offense isn't where we want it to be, so let's see if we can stay in games defensively, and maybe we can grind out some wins. That's kind of what this feels like. I think it's a great move because it's hard finding quality cornerbacks, right? Like in this time of the year, finding a quality offensive lineman is going to be even harder, right? So
pretty much impossible.
So like
speaking from going through that situation, maybe currently right now, it's pretty much impossible.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe they just felt like, okay, we can't do it from this standpoint, so let's look at it from this standpoint, and we'll see if we can grind out some victories, and hopefully our offensive line can continue to develop. That's really like the biggest thing that I took away from that move. But I love the signing, and like you said, it's great for the connection with the coach, and maybe it's a player that will play hard for Coach Billy, right? So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, staying with the French vibes, though, Chandler Jones, the stud corner for the Paris Musketeers, he was put on IR today. Very unfortunate to see. I mean, the dude was locked down against every single team that they faced this year. Definitely one of the better American defensive backs that we have in this league. He was placed on IR. Shout out Jamal, though. He did say that we would see this guy in the league very soon. In his YouTube video, David Richardson back with the Paris Musketeers. He was in the LFA earlier this year, I believe, with the Gallows. And then, no, I can't remember. One of the LFA teams. And then he was with Paris last year. Paris bringing back their DB from last year, getting David Richardson back in there to replace Chandler Jones while he's on IR. I am a big fan of this one. David Richardson, I mean, he's a stud corner. He just got done over in the LFA, so know that he's in good shape and game shape and ready to go. I think this is a good pickup for them while Chandler Jones is on IR.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things here. You're talking about a guy who's already in a spot where he's in shape. He's played already this year, so it's not like he has to come in and to put in a ton of work to get himself into game shape. And he's a guy you can plug in right away. And I think that's one of the biggest things that definitely that helps. It's definitely a bummer that Chandler Jones, though, is hurt because he was a lot of fun to watch. He was one of my favorite cornerbacks to watch this year so far, and he was balling out over there. So speedy recovery to him. But as far as Richardson's concerned, man, like I love the signing, and I'm excited to see what he can do moving from the LFA to the ELF for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. And Jamal, I saw you say somebody from the Barcelona Dragons is back on. He's available now.
Khalid.
Was he the number 20 or 28? I don't remember. But if it's who I'm thinking he is, he's a stud. I'm sure he'll get picked up. Moving forward into that Barcelona situation, since Jamal brought that one up, I already had that one on the docket, one of the favorites. Man, that's a tough situation going on over there. I really feel for the fans and the players. I've had multiple American imports that were with them, now no longer in the league because they've been released, asking if we've got spots available or if I know anywhere that they might be able to land before they get sent home. Man, it's tough to see somebody forfeit at halftime, especially the way that it was going. I heard they only had like 30 players available at halftime. They are playing this week, though. They're playing the Bravos. They're going to keep El Clasico on. Not sure what we're going to see on the field, but they do have open admission for all fans, free admission. So if any Barcelona fans are on the fence about going or not, please show up and support the team. The ownership does not reflect the players on the field. Those guys deserve all the respect, all the love. So no matter what happens on the field, just show up and, give them some love and support. Man, I would really love for them to finish the season out, though, considering that they're our last game of the season. So I really need them to actually finish the season out so I can play the full season, and not mess with my money. But yeah, tough situation. Michael, do you have anything to say on this one?
I said a lot on Tuesday. Alex has mentioned that they're going to play with Barcelona Drax players, basically all new roster, this whole new roster. I said this on Tuesday. Like, first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to the players that did play that game. I believe they had 41 that they started the game with. I think they were obviously beaten up pretty badly at halftime, and they decided not to continue. First and foremost, there was a lot of heat given to the league in this situation and to the Munich Ravens for playing this game. And I'm on the complete opposite fence here, because I feel like if the Barcelona Dragons that showed up that wanted to play, they should be able to play. Yes, It was not pretty. Yes, they forfeited at halftime. Yes, it looks poorly overall on the league. But the Munich Ravens coaches pulled the Barcelona Dragons players that were there, that showed up after the game. It was a viral video. He gave a great speech to them. I thought that was a classy move by the Ravens coaching staff. That's something that they didn't need to do, but they understood the importance of actually hearing it at that point in time. And it is not a reflection on the ownership. And what I will say is the ownership didn't deserve those players to go out there and wear those colors. I hate to say that about the Dragons, because the Dragons are obviously a franchise that's been around, since NFL Europe, as far as the brand is concerned. But the ownership should not take any credit for anything that was there with those colors at all, because they clearly let those guys down last week. Now, moving forward, at least there's a contingency plan in place. Hopefully, that means the rest of the season. Hopefully, they can change some things that are going on inside that organization, and hopefully they can find players that are going to be able to round out the year that want to play for this organization. It is very hard for a lot of these players to look at that side and go, that's where I want to go play.
Yeah.
So shout out to at least the ownership on that side to try to give these guys a chance. But hopefully they can clean up their and pardon my language to anybody that's listening, hopefully they can clean up their shit and be able to field the team for the rest of the year, and then regroup in the offseason and actually put forward a step in the right direction to solidify this franchise as a legit organization and franchise moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, just agreed with you completely. The Dragons, the brand, not the ownership, the brand, the Barcelona Dragons does not deserve to be dragged through the mud like it is right now. This is an organization that's been around since the 80s.
Correct.
Like, this is a historic organization. They've been in the ELF since the beginning. With Zach, they were in contention to win a championship. Like, they won the South Conference in 2022. And then you see where they're at now. The things I'm hearing coming out there, like players not getting paid or getting paid late. The players being they aren't on work visas. They're on tourist visas. So after 90 days, they're not even legally allowed to be there. Like, as an import, that just infuriates me to hear that, because then the players are subject to fines. the players weren't insured, is what I'm hearing. So they get injured, the organization can kind of just be like, oh, like that's on you. So it's infuriating. It sucks because I feel for those guys. I saw a few of their veteran players I think left the organization.
Yeah, two of their longtime players.
Yeah, like that. It sucks. It really sucks. I love this league. I mean, I want to see it continuing to grow. But it's stuff like that just creates more haters on the league.
Yeah.
Like the league is a startup already as it is. You're going to get haters, like especially GFL haters. But like the league is succeeding in most facets, and then you get something like this, and then it just brings the hater roll all over again. And it's just something that I think doesn't directly reflect the ELF to the fans. The people that are just now starting to get involved in it. So it really sucks. But I hope maybe by miracle, new ownership comes in and takes over mid-year. We might have to wait till next season. It's just going to be really hard going forward to get new import players into Barcelona if they continue playing throughout the whole year. And I really, really hope they do, not just selfishly, but for those players that they do. It's just going to be hard to convince E and A imports to go and play for them. So that's just my kind of rant right there. Love the fans over there. I mean, after the game, we went and shook hands and high-fived all their fans that were behind us making loud noise the whole game because they were very passionate for a game where they didn't really need to be passionate. But so, yeah.
In a startup league like this, especially when you're trying to get to basically be what is known as the NFL of Europe, right? Like that's their goal, but it's baby steps first. You're going to see a lot of situations with a lot of franchises probably coming and going. It's just one of the things that happens. Like it happened with the NFL when the NFL started, and a lot of people didn't realize that. But it's more amplified now, right? Because you're looking at it from a scope going, this is poor reflection on the league. Now, anybody who's actually lifted the veil knows that this isn't necessarily a league issue. This was an organization issue, right?
Yeah.
However, the league needs to be able to get to a point where they are able to step in this situation and take over a team to finish a season. So we're not getting teams mid-season folding or potentially folding, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to sell this team and market this team to a potential buyer down the stretch, right?
Yeah.
Like that is going to have to be what the ELF is going to have to do moving forward if they are going to want to succeed at this level, right?
Yeah.
You can't have stuff happening like this. Like you said, like Jamal has said, like anybody that's followed this league, like Alex has said, you just can't have these things continually happen year in and year out. And especially to a team like Barcelona that has been around forever.
Yeah.
Like you can't have that happen. I know it's a new ownership group compared to what it was 2 years ago, I believe, if I'm correct. Or so. And then it begs the question too, like, was winning covering up some of these things that we're starting to see come to the surface now? Because now that they're losing because of Madrid, right? So that becomes a question there in that sense too. So I hope that they can get it together. I hope that they can finish the season, and hopefully next year they're able to suit back up, because I agree their fans are on point. They make noise when they're there. Hopefully they show out even for a free game and give them an opportunity and chance to really support the players that are going out there onto the field.
Yeah.
That's my rant.
Well, I think that's a great spot to go into the little halfway mark commercial break. I don't have much else to say. I don't want to get too much more fired up about this one. We're on to a new week.
No, on to a new week.
This is Current. It's the card my parents used to pay me for mowing the lawn, running errands, and doing well in school.
Oh, wow.
This is the card I used when we got the idea to make our own clothes. And we spread the word, drove downtown, and sold everything we made. This is the card I used to do the things that really matter. This is Current. Visit current.com and download the app for free today.
welcome back. Make sure you download Current. Make sure you use our code as well, and get yourself a good product and use it as well while you're there. Zach, this is the part of the show where we do our predictions previews for the upcoming week. I'll be honest, I did not write down any of my scores from Summer Showcase on Tuesday. Completely just spaced it. Don't know why I didn't do it. Right over my head. So I'm going to be doing blind again. as far as the scores are concerned. So they're going to probably be way off, Jamal. You were here on Tuesday, so they're probably going to be way off this week as well, because I remember none of them. Let's start with Aaron and Brandy were both excited for this game. I don't know if you're excited for this game, but Vierfar, the Enthroners, take on Prague in Prague. Maybe the game of the week. Who knows?
Yeah, it could shape up to be the game of the week, honestly. The Prague Lions, I think they had a good defensive showing last week. I'm not sure if it was. I don't know how to judge this one. The Enthroners, their offense has now gotten going pretty much all year. I really thought the Mangle and Robotine connection would have been something more than we've seen so far based off of what I saw week one. This could be game of the week just because of, it's kind of the Super Bowl, like 2 0-6 and 0-7 teams going at it. This is their chance, to get that win. They play each other 2 times in the next 3 weeks, I believe. Who's game? Like, who's at who? Do we know?
It's at Prague.
It's at Prague? Oh,
yeah.
Man, I'm going Prague 17-10.
17-10. A little more traditional score. Jamal, did you really pick Prague last night? I know you picked a really low-scoring game, but did you pick Prague? I don't remember. The only thing I remember about this game is it was split, and I think I was opposite of Jamal. So whatever Jamal picked last night or Tuesday night, which it might have been Prague, then I think I picked Fierfar, but I think I picked like 12-6. I think Robitaille. We both went Prague. Okay, so it was 12-6 Prague. Okay, so so I went 12-6 Prague. So Robitaille definitely is, one of the. I thought we went opposite, Jamal. That's why I was saying that. Like, I'm all confused. Clearly, Robitaille is one of the best wide receivers in this league. I hope that it's a close game. I think it's just going to be low scoring. I'm going to say 12-6 Prague. That game could end up being 17-16. It could end up 33-32. It's all over the place. Who knows with those two?
Yeah, I think it could be a really good game. I don't know if it's going to be fun to watch. What we're going to see, I hope we see a lot of mistake-free football, and we kind of see Prague and Fahavar's offenses kind of step up. But yeah, I'm going low scoring as well for now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very low scoring. Bet the under, as Jamal would say.
Bet the under for sure.
Yeah. Second game on the slate is Cologne, with all the changes that they've been going through with the head coach and whatnot. They travel to Frankfurt, who is bringing in a new quarterback this week in Matthew McKay. This should be an interesting matchup, though. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I already kind of gave my spiel on Matthew McKay. I think he's going to be a stud. I don't know if we're going to see a big offensive explosion out of him in the first game, being as that he's just now getting over to Europe. I don't think he's been here before that, at least not to play. I know he hasn't. Cologne has put up fights for the most part in the first half against most of these good teams that just seem to kind of get away from them in the second half. Cologne losing their head coach, that's a tough one going into a game against Frankfurt. I'm going Frankfurt. I do think Cologne keeps it close in the first half, whether that's Cologne playing really good or Matthew just trying to get his footing within the league. I do think they pull away in the second half, though. I'm going 38-21 Frankfurt.
38-21, okay. Did you get my 12-6 for Prague, by the way? I don't know if you got it.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I don't remember who I picked last night. I feel like Isaiah Weeds impressed me better than what I thought. I know that there were some head coach issues that happened. This defense is, I think, underrated. I don't know if McKay is going to be able to come in right away and, like you said, come up with an offensive explosion for Frankfurt. I think Frankfurt's a better team than what we have seen so far. You know, they're on the cusp. Like I said, they're like right on that fringe. I think Cologne wins this game, and I think it's going to be close. I don't remember what I picked for a score, but I want to say it was like it wasn't very very big, but I'll say a 24-22 Cologne.
Not confident in the Frankfurt offense yet.
I think McKay coming in is put into a tough spot because I think there's pressure put on him right away, and I think he can handle it. It's just I don't know if he's going to have enough time to have the cohesiveness to gel with his players right off the jump. If this game was next week, I would probably pick Frankfurt all day, no problem.
So you're going Cologne with the upset.
Cologne with the upset, 24-22. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a ball control game for Cologne. I think they're going to use the defense. They're going to try to run the ball. Maybe, maybe get Weed's athleticism involved a little bit. It just something feels like this game is just I don't know. It just feels like Frankfurt could be on upset alert. I like Frankfurt and I like McKay, so I hope it's not the case. It's just that's just my feeling right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, moving forward into Helvetic visiting the Vikings. Yeah, give me your thoughts on this one. I want you to go first. I want to hear what you have to say.
63-3.
63-3 Vikings.
63, Vikings. I don't have to spend a ton of time on this game. It's just Helvetic. Carlton Aiken may get sacked 15 times in this game. He's already averaging being sacked, 7.5 times a game right now, which is insane. That's an insane number. Vienna is one of the most balanced teams in the league, if not the most balanced team in the league. Helvetic's a plus 41, and I still wouldn't take the spread. I hope that's not the case because I hate blowouts for any team, and as a former player, they suck. But this is a mismatch across the board on every level. And Vienna is going to blow them out, unfortunately.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. I'm not going 63-3. I'll give Carlton one touchdown. He scored a touchdown. He connected with Anthony Brown for a touchdown against Stuttgart. And my personal opinion, sorry, Alex, if you're still listening, I think Stuttgart's the number one team in the league right now. But that's only because I've faced them and I've seen them firsthand. So I'm sure the Vikings are solid, though. I'm giving them 10 points.
Okay.
I think that it would be 58-10. I think the Mercenaries defense is better now than it was when they faced Stuttgart. They had just lost Ken Hike that week. Their defense was kind of in shambles in the secondary when they faced Stuttgart, and I think that they're in a better place now than they were at that point. They have two really good corners. They just brought in the new safety. So I think they're in a better place. I don't by any means think that they are going to be really contending in this game, but I do think they'll put up a fight. I think it'll look better at the start than it did against Stuttgart because the Stuttgart game, it just seemed like they were just walking down the field up and down on them. So I think it'll be much better than that for sure.
If Vienna's first drive is a long drive in any which way, shape, or form, it's going to be over for Helvetic. It's going to get blown out in the second half. I hate it. Like I said, I hate it because I think Carlton Aiken's played actually really well behind a really poor offensive line. And I think that this defense is much better than what they have been putting up. It's just if the offense is unable to stay on the field because Vienna's defense is just that much better than Helvetic's offense, that defense is going to be exhausted in the second half. And I see it getting ugly even if Vienna puts in, their backups. I don't want it to happen, but it's just, I think Vienna is the most balanced team in the league. That's all.
Sure.
Madrid taking on Barcelona. We didn't predict this game on Tuesday because we didn't think it was going to get played. We know it's going to get played now. We don't have to spend a ton of time on this one because I think we both expect the same outcome here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. Happy to see that the Dragons are playing.
Yes.
I would love to see them finish the game as well. So I think that's the goal, is to finish the game. Just praying for not a lot of injuries. I don't think they're playing with any imports again. So that'll be really tough. the Bravos are looking to get back on track again. They just dismantled Frankfurt last week.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there's going to be any letting up of the gas, even though everything's going on with the Dragons. And the Bravos have been, by all means, very respectful about the Dragons situation. I saw their post on social media. So, but that doesn't mean on the football field that they're going to let up or anything. So I do see this one blowing out. I'm not going to really make a score prediction, honestly. I just would love to see this game go the full time.
Yeah, and I didn't make one last night either. I think we both expect this to not be pretty, and I really just hope Barcelona is able to finish, and the players that are going out there to represent those Dragon uniforms should absolutely do so with a bunch of pride and hold their heads up high even at the end of the game. And hopefully Madrid lets off the gas at halftime and just kind of, does some very basic stuff just to kind of, be like, we can do what we want, but we don't have to. So because
I don't expect to see much out of Stephen Duncan this game at all.
Right, yeah, like maybe at the end of the half when it's like maybe at halftime if it's like 38-0, Duncan just kind of sits the rest of the game or something. I don't know. Yeah. Berlin travels to Paris. This game's very interesting.
This is my game of the week. I don't know if Alex is still in the chat, but you've got Ben VP going on. I've got Zach Edwards MVP written all over the place. I've been saying it since the beginning of the season. Congrats to Zach on being the first to 10,000 yards passing, and he just narrowly beat Jadrian to the 100 passing touchdowns. They both hit it on the same day, but Zach did edge him out, so I just want to put that on record. Shout out Zach's everywhere. But yeah, this is my game of the week. I think Paris they're looking good. I would love to see the offense to continue clicking, making smart decisions, getting a lot of people involved. The great thing about their offense is when it's clicking, there's not just one target on the field that they're just going after the whole time. Everybody's getting involved, running game, throwing game, it doesn't matter. And their defense has been pretty stellar all year. I'd love to see Paris continue to keep rolling on offense, and I'm excited to see this defense go up against by all means, high-powered Berlin offense. I mean, Sullivan's making an MVP candidacy. I don't know if the wins or lack thereof are going to kind of impact that MVP candidacy for him and not getting over on the fire or, Roslaw earlier in the year. So, but he's having an outstanding year. Offense for Berlin has never been really the issue. It's more of their defense and if they can stop anybody. I've got Paris. They're going to continue rolling. This is at home for them. I do think they're this is their second to last home game on the year already, which is crazy. I know they've been playing at home pretty much the entire year so far.
So far, yeah.
Yeah. Second to last home game for them. I think they're going to continue rolling. I do expect Berlin to put up some points, though. I do see this one ending like 37-24.
Oh. Close to mine because this one I remember a little bit of.
Yeah.
Sullivan for me is key. He needs to be in the conversation. I don't think he's the front runner, and I don't think he's going to win it, by any means. But I think he belongs in the conversation, and this is a good game for him to really kind of show out and be like, "Hey, I still belong in that situation, right? Like, I still belong in this conversation." Zach Edwards has looked fantastic. My problem with Paris is outside of them being Zach Edwards, what is their identity? We talked about it a little bit on Tuesday. They don't really have a true identity yet. For me, though, I do like Paris. I'm not as critical as some of the counterparts. Zach Edwards and Austin Mitchell are fantastic together. This game is going to be a lot of fireworks, or at least I'm projecting a lot of fireworks. And I think it's going to be 38-32 Paris.
Yeah.
38-32 Paris. I do expect Berlin to hit that 30-point mark just because their offense has been fantastic. And Jamal wanted to make sure you knew that it was the Olympics that caused Paris not to be able to have the home games moving forward, or having them so early, I should say. Oh, did we lose you? We lost video. I don't know if we lost audio. No, we may have lost audio. I don't know if you can hear me. All right, I'm talking into dead air for a moment while Zach gets his technical difficulties figured out. It looks like he's gone. It just booted out in that front. The next game on the slate is the Rhine Fire and the Hamburg Sea Devils. Hopefully we can get Zach back on and I can get his thoughts on that game. I mentioned on Tuesday that this game is interesting because it is a quarterback change for Hamburg. I don't think they have enough firepower to be able to hang with Rhine, and I think that that's just because Rhine is hitting their stride. I don't remember what I predicted for this game, but I believe that the Rhine Fire and Jadrian Clark and Glenn Tunga, obviously Glenn Tunga at this point, has been absolutely sensational. He's the MVP candidate for a lot of people at this point in time. I'm talking about Glenn, Zach, because I did move on to the next game while we waited for you to get back here. And Ryan is hitting on all cylinders in this game, and I fully expect this game not to be as close as we would have liked to have seen beforehand. I think Ryan's going to win this game probably 43 to 20 to 20.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, another MVP candidate in Glenn Tunga. The dude is probably going to go over 1,000 yards rushing on the year, and I think he already has, 17 rushing touchdowns or something bizarre like that?
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I think Fire, they're going to continue rolling. We've seen them kind of starting to hit that stride of what we expected them to hit and look like. They've got talent all over the field. And after the first Bravos game, I was a little bit critical in saying they should have just let Glenn continue to cook because it looked like that was a game that he was going to take over. And since then, they've just been letting him carry the rock almost unimpaired. Like he's just going crazy. So if Zach Edwards isn't the MVP front runner, I do think Glenn should be. Would love to see a European running back win the MVP in a league that is known for passing.
Yes.
That would be absolutely insane to see. Interested to see what D'Angelo Fulford looks like against this Fire defense. Hopefully they can get Jarvis McClain really involved in the game early on. But I don't see the Fire really even tripping at all over this game. I think they're just going to continue rolling, continue stepping towards the playoffs. I got the Fire winning this one. Similar to you, I got this one 42-21.
Yeah. And to answer your question, Jamal, which I think you already knew was a rhetorical question, is nobody can stop Glenn.
No, nobody can stop Glenn.
No, I think a brick wall, this fake brick wall behind me, which, by the way, I did because I was trying to play with the camera because I'm sick of this blue tent. I can't get rid of it. I don't know what happened with it. It's not even my lighting. My lighting is yellow, so it doesn't make any friggin' sense to me. But I put the brick up behind me, and, I don't know. I don't think even that would stop Glenn, to be honest with you. Next, in the last game on the slate this weekend, in my personal game of the week, the Stuttgart Surge take on the Raiders T-Roll in T-Roll. The only reason why it's not T-Roll, Innsbruck, sorry. And the only reason why this is my game of the week is because these two defenses are near the top of the league. Stuttgart obviously just gets a huge firepower back with Darryl Stewart Jr. So does that put them over the top and make them that much better than the Raiders in your opinion?
I mean, yes. To be frank, yes. I mean, they were already my favorites going into this game. This is pretty much the battle for the top of the Central Conference, having Stuttgart's already faced Munich twice, beat them twice. Tyrol is really the last one standing in their way to give them much of a fight, really, is looking like in the conference. And, I mean, I think Tyrol's defense has what it takes to make this a tough game for them. I do think what we saw last week will be kind of reminiscent of this game, where we saw Vienna kind of late doing whatever they wanted on offense, running and throwing the ball, just kind of wearing it down on them. And I think Stuttgart has such a high-powered offense that if early on Tyrol's able to kind of roll with the punches and keep it close, I do think Stuttgart just has the depth and ability across the board to just continue to keep on the pressure and eventually wear that defense down. Hey, Tyrol beat the Vienna curse, though. They lost to Vienna and they kept their quarterback. So I know I talked about that one last week. Interested to see if that would occur or not, but they broke the curse. They kept Nikosi Perry after the Vienna loss. So happy for them to improve in that front. But yeah, I don't really see this one wavering too much. I think Tyrol could put up a fight early, but then the Stuttgart offense just keeps on putting that pressure on, scoring a lot later in the game. I see Surge winning 32-20.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be the This is going to be an interesting game. This will not be this case. I saw this game. This game was horrible. Defense was fantastic, but the game was bad across the board. It was last year, as a matter of fact, and it was not pretty. It almost resembled the Panthers game this past week, so it was not pretty at all. I expect a little more offensive firepower between these two teams this upcoming week, but N'Kosi Perry still hasn't put together 4 strong quarters for me to really consider the Raiders on Stuttgart's level, to be honest with you. The defense, I think, rivals, I think the rivals, what Stuttgart does, but I think Stuttgart's offensive firepower is just too much. Riley Hennessy, to me, is my front runner for MVP right now. I think the Zach Edwards and I'm drawing a blank now. Who were we just talking about before?
Glenn
Tunga are definitely at the front of this front of this conversation. Riley Hennessy, to me, though, is the slight favorite at this point in time. The only difference is Glenn's actually taken over games, so maybe that could give Glenn the edge as well. But I think Stuttgart wins this game. I'm very similar to you. I think it's going to be a 2 to 3 score game. Maybe it's late, that does it. But I'm going to say 34-19.
Yeah. And shout out Riley. I mean, I don't want to discredit what they're doing over there at all. He's just being so efficient as a quarterback. Like his completion percentage is like well over 70%, I'm pretty sure. Only 1 turnover to, I think, close to 15 passing touchdowns at this point, 14 or 15, I think. I mean, the dude's just a super efficient, runs their offense to perfection. And I think the reason why maybe some people don't see him as an MVP front runner at this point, which they definitely should, is just maybe they get bored watching Stuttgart continue to roll over people. And I mean, that could be the case. Is just they get they're just kind of like, oh, Stuttgart did it again. Like, what do we expect? So,
and that's it for me right there. That's the key point right there. 17-1 in the TD to interception ratio that's otherworldly type numbers. Yeah. I don't want to end the show on a somber note or a sad note, but unfortunately, I'm going to. Breaking news that Monty Kiffin, former defensive coordinator, former head coach, has passed away as well. So rest in peace to the Kiffin family. Yeah. Rest in peace to the Kiffin family and the football families that have been impacted by the Monty Kiffin in his career. So for sure. Yeah, I hate ending on a somber note, but it literally just came through as I was getting ready to sign off. So, but so that's going to do it for ELF. Zach, do you have any shout-outs, anything you want to say real quick? I want to shout out the people watching the show, obviously, because it's huge. The fans, the interaction. Alex, Jamal, thank you again, as always, for tuning in. What about you, Zach?
Yeah, shout out to Sam for letting us put this on once again. Always going to shout him out. And shout out the boys being in the chat, interacting with us while we do this. And sorry for the Wi-Fi issues. I tried to warn everybody beforehand, but now you get to see firsthand what I'm dealing with.
You got to get you an extension cord so you can just plug it into the router and just run it through your apartment.
Yeah, through the front door.
As it happens. That's such a weird spot to put a router, by the way. Is it like multiple apartments sharing the same router? That's just weird.
Four.
Oh yeah. That's gonna do it for sure. So anyways, shout out to everybody that was in the chat again. Thank you so much. Shout out to Sam as well. I have Summer Showcase Northern Lights coming out tonight. It was supposed to be on. It's normally on Wednesdays. We had to postpone it again to tonight. Dynasty Academy, the fantasy show that I have, is on Thursdays at 8:30. That one will not be happening tonight. We are taking another break. It's kind of an off season for fantasy football, so we don't dive in as much. We space it out a little bit more, but a lot of talk for the CFL. And then, of course, obviously overtime, as always, usually on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. had to postpone because I had an family emergency. My daughter is okay for everybody that has inquired. She had a slight hyperextension that caused a slight sprain in her elbow. But she's feeling much better today. It's still sore, very, very sore as most sprains are, but luckily it wasn't a severe sprain. So She's doing okay. I was worried about a dislocation because my other daughter broke her arm and dislocated her elbow a couple of years ago. So I was just more worried about the dislocation. But she is good. Everything was on the up and up. We came back, iced it, and whatnot. So she is good. But we'll be back next week, Wednesday, Summer Showcase overtime. He's Zach Bronkhorst, the quarterback for the Milano Seamen. I'm Michael Washington, an analyst for the Shady Sports Network. And until next week, have a good night.